This week on World Stories. Philippines, a firebrand takes office. Israel, Ramadan noise. But we begin in Britain. The vote to leave the European Union is causing foreign residents to question their future on the island, like in this example from London.
The vote for Brexit was sobering news for many, but it was especially bitter for Steve from Ireland and Benedikt from Germany. They set up a craft brewery in London a year ago. Now the referendum result has them worried.
There's 4 directors in this company, 4 founders who started it, Irish, German and 2 Swedes. So that's the first level of uncertainty, is our future here. Second level is there's 4 ingredients in beer. We use English water, London English malt, hops come from everywhere, and then our yeast is pretty safe too. But it is in terms of...
It's from the EU, it's from Brussels.
Oh, it's from Brussels, of course it is. Of course it is. But, right, so we've got 2 out of 4 ingredients. We're good for 2. We're good for 2 out of 4.
Steve and Benedikt are typical of the many young Londoners who believe Brexit can only be bad for their future. Many of those young voters demonstrated outside Parliament at the weekend to vent their anger at a decision they say was not theirs.
And we're the generation that's going to be completely screwed over by the recession, so I don't really see why the older generations who've already had their jobs and have their houses, how we're meant to get on with it now.
I really should have put a bit of thought into who this might affect. We're the ones who are hopefully going to have to live with this for 70 years. It's not those that are going to have to live with it, and it's going to be almost impossible to rectify now it's gone through. So just sad, really, more sad than annoyed, really.
Steve and Benedikt are questioning their plans for the future. They were planning to invest in their brewing business and hoped eventually to sell their craft beers on the European market. But they've now put that plan on hold.
In the Philippines, President Rodrigo Duterte has declared war on crime. Though not without critics, this approach continues to prove popular, not least in the city of Davao, where he was until recently the mayor.
Meet Rodrigo Duterte, the new president of the Philippines. His trademark, a relentless crusade against drugs and crime. He acquired his reputation here in Davao. In his 22 years as mayor, he's managed to transform the city from one of the most notorious for crime, kidnappings and drugs into one of the safest in the whole country. Many people in Davao admire him for that.
I know him for a long time as a leader, a great leader. He do what he says, and he do what he says, and he take action of what he planned.
He made Davao so nice. Even people follow rules, regulations. We need a strong leader to manage the whole Philippines because it's a total wreck.
But security and cleanliness aren't the only things Rodrigo Duterte brought to Davao in his time as mayor. While Duterte's track record as mayor seems compelling, it is some of the radical methods he advocates that has put him in the spotlight. Repeatedly, he has endorsed extrajudicial killings of petty criminals using vigilante death squads. More than 1,400 people have reportedly been assassinated in the Davao region since the late 1990s. Many here believe Duterte is responsible for at least some of these killings. But so far, investigators haven't been able to establish a single case against him.
The problem has always been the absence of witnesses who were willing to cooperate in the inquiries. One reason would be out of fear.
A feeling Juan knows all too well. Juan is not his real name, and he doesn't want to be recognized. As a vocal critic of Duterte and his methods, he's been receiving death threats from the mayor's supporters.
We've heard about even kids getting mistaken for drug pushers and getting killed. And we also know about journalists who've been killed, who've been very vocal against Duterte. There's this low hum of anxiety. If my enemy accuses me of being a criminal, then I can get easily killed. But people don't want to talk about it. And if you criticize Duterte, you'll get harassed.
Rodrigo Duterte, savior or monster? Filipinos appear to be of two minds. But one thing is certain, even though his term in office is just starting, he's already the most controversial president the Philippines have had in at least 3 decades.
Kenya leads Africa when it comes to internet access. But life's not easy for bloggers. The Bloggers Association of Kenya has been trying to empower online commentators.
For Ole Shitemi, blogging is not just a hobby. He's been doing it full-time for 5 years. The activist wants the media to be more effective in serving the public. He sees this as a prerequisite for good governance and an informed citizenry. His blogs are well established and respected, but he faces some obstacles.
The biggest challenge for me is the perception that bloggers are paid in Kenya, or that especially bloggers are paid to defame people, to write wrong things about people.
When he's not working from home, he meets up with fellow bloggers. There are around 15,000 of them in Kenya, most of whom are in Nairobi. Only a few are members of the Bloggers Association of Kenya, or BAKE. They meet at iHub, the unofficial headquarters of Kenya's tech movement. App developers or startup supporters like Nylab work here. The company offers BAKE members workspace and internet service. 5 years ago, a small group of internet activists formed the association. Its membership of 2,500 is growing. Founding member James Wamathai is aware of the potential in Kenya's blogger community. Members gather occasionally to discuss the funds they need to offer regular training for blogger communities across the country.
We'd like to see more and more people, and especially outside of Nairobi. So in essence, they're not only telling their story, they're not only telling the world what's happening in that specific county, but they're also making money from it and employing other people.
They say that each training experience strengthens the bloggers' network. And they come away with practical tips: how to conduct research, how to use social media platforms, and how to write in a style suited to the commercial use of blogs. For several years, BAKE has been giving blog awards. It's the entertainment, technology, or fashion blogs that usually win. It's less glamorous for political bloggers. In the last 2 years, following the passage of laws restricting media freedom, the number of bloggers arrested has increased. BAKE offers its members legal advice, sometimes to non-members too. Wamathai says that individuals' free expression online can lead to a freer society. Kenya's blogger community is walking a kind of tightrope between glamour and research. But the founders of the BAKE Association would like to see more people taking part in Kenya's social development. For them, the Blog Awards are just the beginning.
Our last report is from Israel. In Jerusalem, during the holy month of Ramadan, cannon blasts mark the beginning and the end of the day's fast for the Muslim community.
The sun is setting over Jerusalem. Many Palestinians hurry to buy groceries on their way home. Rajai Sanduka makes his way up to the cemetery across from the Old Town. He's here to fire the Ramadan cannon. Every evening, it's the signal for Muslims that their day of fasting is over. Easier said than done after a 15-hour fast.
It's difficult. The days are long. And this year, Ramadan happens to fall during the longest days of the year. But in the end, you feel good about yourself because you are fulfilling your duty to God.
Sanduka fires the cannon to mark the beginning of the Ramadan fast in the morning and the end in the evening. It's a ritual that's been passed on from father to son within the same family for over 120 years.
It is part of our tradition. To this day, most people in the Old Town do not break the fast until they hear the sound of the cannon fire. Even if they hear the prayers from the mosque on the loudspeakers, they still wait for the cannon.
The cannon itself is a holdover from the time when Jordan ruled East Jerusalem. It has not been used for military purposes for a long time. Today, under Israeli rule, the explosives are brought to the cemetery by 2 Israeli security agents. Sanduka is not allowed to handle explosives without supervision, even if it is just a sound bomb ignited via remote control.
We transport the explosives in a special car. Then we secure the location so that enemy elements don't have access to the site. That is the reason for this procedure.
And of course, the most important task is firing the cannon at the right time. After all, thousands depend on it. The Imam at the Al-Aqsa Mosque tells him when to fire via mobile phone. It's a far cry from the way his grandfather did it.
Someone was standing on the other side of the wall to the Old Town. He was given a sign from someone else at the Temple Mount. My grandfather would then get a signal via a green flag that he should blast the cannon.
And then it's time. At exactly 7:48 p.m., Sanduka triggers the shot with his remote control. Rajai Sanduka makes his way home to his iftar meal. Tomorrow morning at 4, he has to be back to announce the start of another day of fasting.